Hi guys, Pops here, and in today's video we're going to be taking a look at the design process of my Youtooz. So let's get started. So just the other day, I had announced that my Youtooz is going to be coming out April 30th, and since then, a lot of you guys have been wondering what actually goes into creating a Youtooz or a figure like this, and today, I have a lot of photos to show you guys the beginning to end and what it looks like all the way throughout. Oh, and also, for a bit of a timeline, this has been about a year since I've started creating this figure with Youtooz. We started last June, and now it's April. When the figure comes out, it's going to be April 30th, so it's really been about 10 months, and that is a long time, but it's definitely worth it because this came out amazing. Alright everyone, so this is the first photo Youtooz had ever sent me of my figure. I had actually submitted a form of all the different things that I wanted my Youtooz to have, like my Top Pop sweater, possible smaller figures within it, my crown, and then they came back to me with this right here, 3 different options that I could choose from. And the ones that you guys could probably tell that I went with was the left figure there, as well as the right one. The middle one is something that we really did enjoy, but the boxes, it would have been a lot of figures, so we didn't go with that one. And now I do think it would have been really cool to have that crown full of different Youtooz, but I didn't want to do that because I wanted my figure to actually be wearing a crown. So instead, we took the first figure and the third figure and actually put them together, because if you guys can see, I took the backpack from the first one full of Youtooz, and then I took the third one and actually had me holding the figures, so that way we can merge them both together and kind of have the best of both worlds. Then after we finalized the sketches, we moved on to a colored version of the figure with all of the stuff that I wanted merged into one. So you guys can see, this one here has the backpack, it's got the figure in my hand, I've got the gorilla pod with the camera, I also have the shark shorts on, where in the first one, we were kind of toying with the idea of having just pants, but I thought the shark shorts would be 1,000 times better. And now if I'm gonna be honest, my figure really didn't go through that many changes, but there was one major change that you guys can see in this sketch already, which is I was holding a smaller version of my figure at the beginning, where now I'm actually holding a box of my figure, because this, you guys will see later on, got really small, and when they actually tried to make the 3D printed version of it, it got a little scuffed. And now guys, at this point a couple months had passed, because now that we had finalized the 2D version, Youtooz had to come to me with a 3D version of the figure. So this is what we came up with right here. Also, you guys can see the figures in the backpack are a little bit different as well, because they were going to do it where it was no sleeve on the outside, but instead we swapped it because it was way too small to put the figures inside of the boxes. And now if you guys look closely, you can see that this figure still has a smaller version of the figure in his hand, and then if you look in that figure's hand, it has a smaller version. So it was a figure within a figure within a figure, and that was getting way too small, so that's why we had to switch it. And I totally understand why they had to switch it, but maybe in the future, if we ever do a 1-foot version of the figure, we could get that small with it and actually have like maybe like a 2-foot version of it in my hand. I think that could be really great, but for now, we had to swap it over to the box, and I totally understood. And now guys, this one here is kind of like the cleaned up version of the figure, so I'm holding the box in my hand at this point. I also have the figures in my backpack cleaned up, so it's the sleeves instead of the inside of the box where we couldn't put the figure inside, because it was going to be way too small to try to fit them inside of a tiny box inside of my backpack. And also, if you guys look at this figure a little bit closer, more so with the crown as well as the camera, this is what the figure's actually going to look like when you guys get it in hand, instead of just a 3D image, kind of getting all the parts down that I wanted on the figure. Oh, and also guys, when I told Youtooz I was going to be doing this video, they sent me a couple photos that I could show to you guys of earlier images of it. So here's a gray version of the figure without any colors on it. This is kind of like a 360. I guess you guys can see all 4 sides there, but it really does look weird without all the colors on it. And then guys, they also sent me this here, which is every single piece of the Youtooz that would have to be put together when creating it. So you guys can see there's my face and then my hair without the crown, and then the crown's on the bottom there in light blue, my hand by itself, where it would then have that little piece so you could stick the actual Youtooz box on top of it. And I think that this looks really interesting, and I've never seen a figure broken down like this. And then at this point guys, this is where I would be getting my 3D printed prototype, so that way I can check it out, make sure it looks okay, and then we can finally finish off the figure. So here is that version of it right here, and this is the one that I actually used for my promotional video, and you guys can see here that it does look a little bit different from what the final version is going to look like, because this right here is actually inverted. So you guys can see this is what it's actually going to look like, what's on my sweater right here, and not the white on the inside with the TP being blue. Oh, and then also guys, I do want to mention that the figure in my hand as well as the boxes in my backpack are going to be a little bit different for the final figure, because this one here was actually hand painted. And also I do have to be kind of careful with this one because it was 3D printed, so this isn't actually the finalized version of it, but I do think this is very close to what it is going to look like, especially with the face as well as the pants, shoes, and pretty much everything besides the sweater and the boxes. Alright, now the next figure that Youtooz sent me is a little bit of a weird one. I've got it here and it's actually really odd. This is every single piece of my Youtooz separated. I know, it's really weird, but you guys can see the crown, the shorts, the sweater, my face without the hair on it, my backpack, all three of the figures in the bottom right corner. They're the Harambe, Do You Fart, and Doge. My hand where I'm actually supposed to be holding this figure. My actual Youtooz at the top there. And it's funny because the camera and the lens are two separate pieces, as well as my arm holding the Gorilla Pod, and it's just really weird, but I think it's so cool to see photos like this. And now guys, here's an image of my figure being assembled, so you can see that my head's actually being put onto the body of my figure. And I think that is so weird, especially because my head is just kind of sitting there on the table. It kind of reminds me of Sid from Toy Story. But almost like the opposite, because they're not ripping them apart, they're putting them together. I don't know. And now guys, the last photos that I have here is actually the version of the figure that you guys will be getting, or at least very, very similar to it, a lot closer than this one here, because the box will look a little bit better, as well as the TP on my sweater. And if you guys look at it, the sweater looks a lot better because it's not the inverted colors, it's more like the one that I'm wearing right now, as well as the box looks a lot brighter, and that's exactly what we wanted it to look like. And then if you guys look at the rest of the images, you guys can see that the back boxes also look a lot cleaner, and I noticed that the backpack goes a little bit deeper than the one that I have here. This one hardly goes in at all, where that one kind of insets probably about maybe 1 millimeter or 2 millimeters farther. It's not much, but it definitely shows more of the Do You Fart box. And well guys, there you go. That is the beginning to end of the creation of the Top Pops Youtooz, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and let me know in the comment section below what was your favorite part of the Youtooz that I showed off today. And if you guys want to see more from me in the future, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, do all that. But this has been another episode of Top Pops. Popsters, thanks for watching. See you guys tomorrow.
Dripping like a school. On a forward school. Baby gonna screw. She funny with it. Cool. V5 full thump. I'm a hump on a bounce. Jack and Jill up a hill. Baby tryna get a meal. Mary had a little lamb. I really do not fuck with. And she calling me the muffin man. I surely like the muffin top. Slow. Like my lashes.